Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's another episode set and done with The Walking Dead. Now, before I get into this week's episode, Judas, let me talk about last week's episode, or the lack thereof, a review, at least on my channel, episode 29, Home. I saw it, I just never got around the night of to recording it, a review of it, and the next day I was busy, so I didn't record the review then. And by the time I was like, sit down, watch, time to do the review, it's like, it's only a couple days before the next episode. So I do apologize for skipping over. It was quite the episode, with the retaliation, the zombie bomb, if we will. It was a decent episode. I Know Judas is not as an exciting episode. Not that it's a bad episode. We have a couple wonderful character things. The thing is, how should I put this? It's a plot episode. I don't want to say the word filler episode, because it's clearly not a filler, as it's normally associated with television. It's a plot episode. It's partially a stressed down episode. Okay, we've had this crazy stuff happen. Here's the episode where the characters start to process this stuff and start to build to the next major event. The next one might be a filler. It might not be. It's hard to tell at this point. But I Am a Judas, which is that title right there, tells you who this character or who this episode is about. It's about Andrea, and really, that kind of really makes it most clear at the end of this episode, which we'll get to in a second. But really, this is an Andrea-centered episode. It's about her being now really stuck between these two groups, the Woodbury group and the prison group. And what does she really want? And at the end of the day, I think Michonne picks it. She wants... Michonne kind of says, you chose a warm bed over a friend. And that's kind of what Andrea wants. She wants... As she put it, she wants a life. She doesn't want to just survive. She wants there to be something. She wants some sense of normalcy to return. And you do get that sense. There's a completely different feel you get in the prison than you get in the scenes at Woodbury. You really do get the sense that, if you're going to pick between these two groups, Woodbury is really the group I would be with. They have a much better life. It's much less stressful there. You might say their leader might be a bit crazy, but then look at Rick, who's been chasing around his dead wife in a white shirt or white dress, out walking around in walkers. Yeah, not the best example right there. I think that's a wonderfully done little thing. What they've done with that by kind of breaking down Rick. We, as an audience, when you try to really make the arguments of why is the prison group better than the Woodbury group in total, they do, I think, start to make some points at it. And I think Kirkman's trying to point out, subtly going, the prison group is not that far from becoming just like Woodbury. They're really not that. There's not a whole lot. It's not as much, at least, as we think, separating these two. They're not past the line that the governor has crossed, but they're not that far away from actually going and breaking it. And you had the sense if they had to break and go past that line, they would. So there's that wonderful little dynamic. And the best thing is, with Andrea's getting very, very concerned because in Woodbury they're forming up a militia to go to war. About 30 people they can get. And they're including adolescents, basically anyone 13 years and up. And it's kind of showed, oh my god, they're using child soldiers, except when we really sit back and think, look at the prison group. They're using Carl. Carl, end of the episode, he is the one on watch for when somebody attacks with the rifle. They are, the children are being used for war here. And it's really not just the Woodbury group. Carl has been used for a while now as a full member of the group, expected to fight, maybe not as much. That's mainly because his father doesn't want him to die. But at the end of the day, the prison group, they don't have as many kids to use, has done the same thing that Woodbury is now doing. So, interesting, to say the least, on that. Of course, the major thing, though, to see is what we were talking about earlier with Andrea's decision is that ending scene where, she was told, ironically from the one character that was in an abusive relationship, so apparently she never fucking did this, but, she basically said, fuck him. When he's asleep after that, he's vulnerable. Kill him then. So, what did that kind of mean? It goes back to what I said earlier. Her decision. Choosing that stability, that life. She sees there, at the end of the day, she's in a nice room, and she just had, sex with this guy, and she has a relationship. He's trusting her because he's asleep there naked, and she's above him with a knife. And that goes to her character. That ultimately she has a feeling that most of us would have in that situation. We want the stability, and we'll trade some what. I'm not even sure what the actual trade in that case would be. Is some minor, following, giving up ourselves to follow some sort of leader for the stability, which you can't really argue is what the prison group represents, because the prison group kind of follows Rick, who is clearly much more insane than the governor has ever appeared to his own group. The governor always puts on a face when and if he's going to have those scenes where he's distressed, he goes to he does not go in public. Rick breaks down in front of everybody and gets the entire group in trouble because of it, because we see Tyrese and his group has now joined up with Woodbury, kind of letting it slip that they've gone to the prison. It's going to be interesting to see how that gets implemented. Obviously now it's known, the Woodbury group knows that they can get in through a side entrance, those tombs as they call them. But it's also going to be interesting to see how Tyrese plays out in Woodbury. Does he start picking up on the same there's something not right feeling? And also, does the governor, after being told how crazy Rick is, he seems infatuated a bit with Rick. Actually, it's kind of weird. But it seems, is he going to try to play this angle? You got a sense of that. Is he going to try to manipulate this, play this as, I wonder if I can try to take that group in, kill Rick, and then say, there was a group that was this fell into the control of a madman, and that's why they did all this crazy stuff. They maybe he might try to do that. Maybe not. Probably not. It doesn't seem like it play a whole lot of sense. But maybe Tyrese's group will start to figure out, hey, there's something up with the governor too, and it's going to be interesting to see, to say the least. The other interesting thing to see in this episode was Merle kind of really joining the group for the first time ever. He was partially with the group during season 1, before he chopped off his hand. And it's going to be interesting, to say the least, about what they do, how he went through that episode. He started off in the isolation area, where they kind of put everyone they don't trust at first. And by the end of the episode, he's just with everybody. Not locked up anywhere or anything. He's there. He's with the group, and he's become part of it. And you figure, I thought that would take a lot longer. They had the whole thing together last episode where him and Daryl come and kind of save, Rick and everybody, but it's interesting to see how he's just kind of come. And there was this wonderful scene. I think this is a great character moment for Merle. It really tells you about his character. He kind of knows that everyone in this group hates him. So he's trying to defuse the situation. He goes with the person that he thinks is more survival bound, so perhaps more practical about trying to bury the hatchet. That's Michonne. Who we, seeing her, she's actually apparently does. One of the things you kind of go, these guys are so buff after the apocalypse. What are they doing working out? Because you kind of actually have to tone yourself to be like as fit as like some of the people are on this show. And yes, apparently they are, because we see Michonne is actually doing exercises. She actually she's doing push-ups. She's doing her, because some sort of calisthenics. So okay. So I guess that answers that question. Yes, apparently these guys do push-ups and sit-ups and stuff, and to keep in shape. That answers that question. But he has a scene, and he tries to go, I was just, that wasn't personal when I tried to kill you. I was just following orders. And she's like, yeah, like the Gestapo. And Merle responds, yeah, like them. It's if you want to explain Merle's character, or if you wanted to show somebody like, this is Merle, that's the scene to show it. That tells you what type of character he is right there. And I guess as a guy that drives around on a motorcycle with an SS insignia on it, I guess he wouldn't be that insulted by being compared to the Gestapo. Probably takes it as a true compliment. Or maybe he just forgot that the Gestapo guys were hung after the war. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite Merle lines right there, just because it's like, you don't ever expect anyone to answer that question that way. So that's pretty much that's all I really want to say for that episode. For that episode, it's gonna be a bit of a short review here today, which should be good for everybody. As for next episode, like I said, it might be a filler. And what I mean by that is, it looks like they kind of run across a random other survivalist, another random person they run across. There seems to be a lot more survivals. There are people survived than I guess first thought. Will he wind up joining with them? Will he just kind of be literally a villain of the week, where they encounter him, they kind of kill him, and just becomes this? I mean, I'm sure there'll be some fun things we can do with that whole situation. I'm sure it'll be a fun episode, and there might be some very good character moments, because he kind of takes Michonne, and we see this group of three probably do some sort of bonding moments. So it should be an interesting. I don't want to say too much about what I think next, what that's going to be, because, like I said, it's either going to be probably a very good character building moments, or possibly introducing a new character, or it's going to be kind of like a filler episode where I'm sure we'll get some plot stuff, especially with Woodbury. But for the most part, we get our action done with this, threat that goes away by the end of the episode, which is kind of different for this series. Anyway, so stay tuned for that episode 31 Clear next week. Should be exciting. In the meantime, signing off, guys. Other site news. Didn't go to the movies this week, so didn't review anything there. I probably am going to go see the Jack the Giant Slayer this week. That's, some people are saying that might be the first flop of the year, so that makes me want to see it, because I want to see if it's deserving of that. Is it a Battleship or is it a John Carter? So stay tuned for that as well. So please like, subscribe, all the regular stuff that everyone on YouTube says. Hasta luego.